Yeah, see, it's kind of like, hey Alexa,
That's right.
hey Austin. That's our new one. Okay, we'll open this public hearing. I'll begin by reading the notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the following hearing will be held in the Bonneville County Courthouse, 605 North Capitol Avenue, Idaho Falls, Idaho, January 5th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. by the Bonneville County Commissioners for the purpose of a public hearing in relation to the application Austin and Alexis for the rezone on the property owned by Thomas and Debra Jensen from agriculture A1 to residential agriculture RA2. The general location is located on north side of North Riverfront Road Drive, east of the Snake River and west of North 5th West, Bonneville County, Idaho. There was a legal description published. This was published December 21st, 2021. This was heard at the planning and zoning level. We have the records from that. Without objection, we'll make those part of the record here. So anything you've testified prior to this will be included already. Don't necessarily need to repeat it, but if there's anything new you want to add, feel welcome. We'll begin. All three commissioners are present. Austin Black, our assistant planning director, and Michelle Hagan, assistant planner. Okay. So to begin with, who's presenting? Michelle. We'll have her present the application and the materials to us, and then we'll open it up for the representative or owner to address, and then we'll open it to public comments. So, Michelle.
All right, thank you. Michelle Hagan, Assistant Planner with Bonneville County. This is an application by Austin and Alexis Emery on behalf of Thomas and Debra Jensen for a zoning map amendment from A1 to RA2. The property is located on North Riverfront Drive, west of North 5th West and 81st North, and it's east of the Snake River. The property is a 6.237 acre parcel that has one building right. The land use designation is suburban mixed use, as you can see on the slide with our land use map. The property is zoned A1, and the adjacent zoning to the property is A1 and RA4. There are RA2 and RA1 zoned properties in the immediate area. The requested RA2 zone is one of multiple zones that are options to consider within the suburban mixed-use land use designation. The application states that there are no central water or sewer systems available at this time. Private well and septic systems are proposed. There are requirements in the comprehensive plan for central water and sewer services and fire protection. The suburban mixed use does have options for discussion regarding utilities if there are no public utilities available. The county has been requiring in-home sprinklers if there is no central fire protection available in the area. And if the lot sizes are less than 5 acres, they must have the fire protection. The comprehensive plan has compatibility decisions that should be considered in all map amendments. The application states that the intention is to divide the property into 2 lots, resulting in 1 additional building right if the rezone is approved. North Riverfront Drive is local road, and the proposed number of lots would not trigger the need to construct a new road. However, if the number of lots changed, then submission of a subdivision plat in the future, that road requirement may change. There were 2 emails that were not reviewed by the Planning Commission. The correspondence is from James and Nicole Tomlinson, and then Christine Mickelson. Both of these emails were included in your packets and labeled as exhibits. I do have them available if you would like me to read them into the record.
I saw them. Okay, I read.
The Zoning and Planning Commission held a public hearing on December 8th for the application, and they recommended approval unanimously for the rezone. Are there any questions?
Not this time. So are the
Cameron.
Amber, yeah, if you just want to sit up in the chair at the end. Yeah, state your name and address. Please.
Austin Amron, 694 South Saturn Avenue, Unit C, Idaho Falls, Idaho. Like Michelle said, we're just looking to rezone to RA2 from A1 currently, just so we can get one additional building right. The intent with that is that my wife and I would be able to build a house and a shop on. Our goal is to have one 5-acre piece and then make it so my mom can build another house adjacent to us on that other lot. So that's the reason we're here for the zoning. We do intend to put in separate septic and well systems for each property.
Not Thomas, but Debra Jensen.
No, that's these folks that were trying to buy the property from. My mom's name is Tammy Olson.
Oh, okay, so you're the Jensens?
Yes.
Okay. You look familiar. Everybody does when they've been around forever. Okay, and as I understand that, the reason it's being platted and rezoned is because they have one division right, and to get the second division right, we require them to plat.
To rezone and plat.
Right.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, because it seemed like there were several questions on that. And if they were to go to up to 6 because of the 1 acre, then they possibly would have to do a subdivision plat along with any of the other.
They would have to do a subdivision plat as well, but they would trigger other infrastructure requirements that, such as the central water system, and there would be the fire flow in each of the homes, and potentially super. So to do some for that and build a road.
Yeah, because I should know this after this many years. What does the R4 allow? That's several of those.
The RA4 is a 5-acre minimum lot size.
Okay.
And then the RA3 is 2.5 acres. The RA2 is 1 acre. And then the RA1 is 15,000 square feet. That's the main difference between each of those zones is the lot sizes and the widths. And
Yeah, I had a question. I was just curious, our public works director made a comment about the average lot size be under 200 feet. I guess that is frontage.
that is
Is that a problem?
That is frontage on that. That's triggering a requirement that they have for curb and gutter. If you have the average lot width that is going to be under 200, they would need to do curb and gutter. I did speak with the director about that, and that might be something that they'll look at. They'll look at the surrounding area, and it may not require that in that platting stage.
But if, may I follow up?
No, well, yeah, I just couldn't remember all the details.
If, so if he requires that, then that would be a consent or a requirement of this
Of the,
approval.
typically the
rezone?
platting, it
It would be
comes
during
in
the
the
planning,
platting
not
stage.
during the rezone. Okay.
Correct.
And then if I can follow up on Chairman's question about if the property owner did decide to go to 6 1-acre lots on this, which they would be allowed if the zone is changed, would that then require another hearing to do the infrastructure and the plat that you're talking
It would require a public meeting for the platting, which they will still have to go through. they're having that many lots on the 6 acres would require, we would have to have discussions about, they'd have to construct a road. And it would have to provide for the road network connectivity. And they would probably have to do something with potentially LSAS or a sewer system for those 6 lots. We would have to work that out with the plating. That's also something that we can address with the rezone, because we typically have some of those conditions, like for number of lots or the average would trigger the need for doing that.
So can I follow up one more time? So that still didn't satisfy my comfort level. Is a public hearing required? I mean, would they need permission? They've already got permission to do that. They would just then have to agree to put in all that infrastructure, correct?
No,
Or
a
would
public
it
hearing would
require
not be
another
required.
public hearing?
It would not.
It would not. That's what I thought.
That should be the planning process.
Right. But it wouldn't come.
And pretty typically in the residential agricultural zones, we required them to have a 2.5 acre minimum average lot size in order to have their own septic. That's what we've done pretty consistently through the county. So those are conditions you could consider as part of your decision as well, if you wanted to limit the ability for those lots.
Okay, I need to make sure I understand that. 2.5 acre average could be 1.25.
Correct.
Yeah.
It just has to average out to be the, so if they did 6 1-acre lots, you can't meet that average, which then could trigger the
Hearing.
water sewer,
Yes.
having to change that.
The other question I had was, Lance's other concern about an unresolved right-of-way issue along the front drive.
That is something that
What is it?
there's, did you want to explain that?
Yeah, that's the one. Let me pull up the map here. So that's the, there's a little sliver underneath where the rezone is. I can't remember his name right now. I wish I could off the top of my head, but we have the prescriptive right of way. We've reached out to him to see if he will deed that little strip of land that was left over. All the right of way was accepted in the deeds. Trish brought it up in legal counsel. I don't know if you remember that. All the right of way was accepted in the deeds, but he still shows his ownership. So we were contacting him to see if he would deed that to the county so that we could have the full right of way, but there's still prescriptive right of way there.
Still use it, it's just whether these kind of a question. on that.
Correct.
And the frontage of the curb and gutter of 200 feet, this is roughly, and this is roughly 400 feet width.
It's just shy of that.
So
So
it could be so that they're just shy of 200 feet, which that's when they would take into consideration the plating for the way that
yes,
and what's characteristic of the area.
yes.
I think that's, well, stuff. Okay, anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Anybody else wish to add anything?
No.
Okay, that you haven't added it already before?
Yeah.
Any questions? John?
No.
No.
This is Steve Sear. Just a suggestion or option the commissioners can consider. You do have the option of changing the zone to the RA3, which is a 2 acre, 2.5 acre minimum lot average. If you have concerns, that's an option to be able to implement to control future development also.
You could do either or.
So,
Plans,
th-
which
there's a-
ends up the same way.
There's a reason we didn't seek that initially. That was what we were intending to do. But then when Michelle brought up the potential need to put in a fire suppression system for lots under 5 acres, we decided that one home happening to put in that system vice 2 would be beneficial. That's why my wife and I were looking to have a 5 acre piece so we could skirt that, and then just do that on the one home. And we would seek probably an exemption for that, to be completely honest. But beyond that, my mom doesn't really want that much land. We'll probably keep pasture to one side and bring in some horses or something. So
And just to clarify, so you understand that the 5 acres is a state statute, so the county doesn't have any ability to make that exemption.
Okay.
Anything under 5 acres has to have an in-home fire suppression system or a fire hydrant as part of the subdivision, is the state statute.
Okay.
So that's probably not something that will be exempted, just so you understand.
Okay. Thank you.
And additional reminder, commissioners, of the last several rezones that we've done, particularly Johnson's, where it's in the suburban area, that we have required them to be an average of a 2.5 acre lot average where they don't have central services.
I was just say, as a side note, residential sprinkler systems currently, to have those installed is about the same cost as an expensive carpet. So it's not for what you gain, it usually pays for itself in insurance savings over the first 3 or 4 years. So
Understand.
just not mention safety.
Just hearing
I'm
that
a retired fireman, so it's like,
I feel like you should do that.
it's lives and property, and it's.
Thank you.
Hearing that explanation, change your mind on going from R3 to R2.
No, again, because then that would make it so my mom would have to have a 2.5 acre lot where she doesn't want to have that much property to have to maintain. So.
I'm sure she has a good son.
All hell, don't get me wrong, but.
So you have no problem with the RA2 with limitations, like Commissioner Reed suggested, a 2.5 acre average.
Yes, because the average would still be 2.5, correct?
Right.
Okay.
2.5, 5, 6.
Over 2 buildings.
Right. 6 divided by 2.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be 2 options for you guys to consider. Put some rankings together.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to follow up on what Steve said about required to have central services. Can you expound on that a little bit, Steve?
Typically, anytime we do a deal with a rezone, it implements the requirement for central services to be considered. When we've made several of the other decisions where they don't have central services available, they've implemented the requirement for at least providing minimum fire protection if the lot sizes are under the 5 acre lot size. Just reminding that the previous decisions that we've had, we've implemented that same policy with having the 2.5 acre minimum. There have been 1 or 2 of them that you have requested considering averaging in the suburban zone. We've been doing averaging normally up in the foothills. So averaging would be a different pattern for consideration in the suburban mixed use, but it's an option that you could consider if you wanted to implement that as a new standard or policy that you're implementing.
Isn't that an option we considered and used in the Johnson legacy?
We fit in the Johnson legacy, we said 2.5 acre minimum lot size.
I think we said average.
But maybe I might be wrong. We'd have to double check it.
We can double check that.
But either way, it's been granted. Okay. Anything anybody else wishes to add on the record? Okay, we'll close this hearing of the testimony probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. We'll meet generally on a Wednesday road bridge meeting. We don't send out the notices because that's a public meeting, but on a hearing, we won't take any testimony. We'll consider proposed findings from planning and zoning. And that's usually at 10 o'clock on Wednesdays. You'll have to watch the website to see when that's on. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.